Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So I know it's been a while since I've done a budget recap, and it's been about 2 months since August, but looking at my videos I realized I didn't even do a August overview or a recap, so I wanted to go ahead and do one, especially since it was one of the months that I think this was one of the months that was the hardest for us because we didn't expect for my husband to get injured. He ended up applying for state disability insurance, which he got approved for, and I just wasn't prepared for it. So I'm going to walk you through how I budgeted for our state disability insurance and go through tracking our expenses and, the whole budget recap. And for those of you who are new to my channel, I am using the Budget by Paycheck Workbook by the Budget Mom. I will leave her information down below. I did purchase the digital version because at that time, her physical copy, it was her first physical copy that she ever came out with, ended up selling out, and by the time I had wanted to purchase one towards the end of May, it was already all sold out, and I just wanted to get I just ended up downloading the digital version. So that's what this is for the month of August. This is how the monthly layout looks, and originally, as you guys can see here, I crossed out the paydays because my husband, this was his last paycheck from his work, and it's a small one because he had missed work, I believe, starting on Monday the 29th. He called out of work and he had already tapped into all of his sick time, so he didn't get any of his sick hours paid. So thankfully he still just has a job, so we were just fortunate enough that his work was okay with it as long as we were applying for disability and got approved and all of that kind of stuff just to make sure his job is protected. And so after he applied for state disability insurance, if you guys are not familiar with that, so we are in the state of California, and there is a waiting period of I think about 8 days before you can even apply for it. So our first check that we got from the state was on the 19th. So we had this much, $497 up until the 19th to cover all of these bills here. So originally, his original paycheck here that's highlighted in green, this paycheck would have covered everything that's highlighted in green here, but ended up not being the case. So let me show you guys our budget, how we budgeted for that. So for this month, I was kind of playing around with which paychecks I wanted to start tracking, because with the Budget Mom, she tracks from like July 1st until July 31st, and I wanted to do it by paychecks. So I wanted to do it from our original paycheck was from July 26th until our next payday, which was the 9th. So it would have ended here. That's how I wanted to do my tracking. And then from there, tracking from the 9th to the 22nd, and starting a whole nother budget on the 23rd. So that would be my, it would be like a 28-day tracking, I guess, for the month. So, but anyways, so here, this was my husband's last full paycheck, which was July 26th. We didn't know he was going to get injured. He ended up getting injured the weekend, or that Monday, following weekend. Yeah, the 29th. And we didn't know that, so I didn't plan ahead because I didn't know he was going to get injured. So this was just our regular budget that we had set up. So, and at that time, this was our budget. This is pretty much how I budget now, except I don't have a budget for school, clothes, or travel. Those to me are kind of more seasonal. I have travel in there because we were going to the Philippines, or we went to the Philippines in September, so I was making a budget for it to buy some things that we needed for the trip. That's pretty much it for this one. I do typically like to budget out on Thursdays, because my husband finds out on Wednesday night what his paycheck's going to be like, because I was budgeting what his actual numbers was. So that's what this is. And we also got $200 from grandparents, so we put that in the boys sinking fund. Leftover checking, whatever money we had leftover cash and all of that, that's what I put up there. And then so in the next one, okay, so this was my husband's last paycheck from his work, which was $497. And then I made a note here for myself to expect our state disability insurance check by August 23rd. So what we did with this one, we tried our best with the previous check, since he got injured on the 29th, to kind of save up a little bit. And we also borrowed from my kids' sinking fund, which sucks, because before we even tap into our emergency fund, we wanted to just grab money from our sinking fund first. And then, so this was our budget for this month, or not this month, this week. So from August 9th until we received it, we ended up receiving a check on August 17th here. And we did get a check for it, so we just went ahead and deposited it. And I started a whole new budget. But then for this budget category, I had way less categories, as you guys can tell. So just food, gas, medical, and miscellaneous. And that my overall budget at the beginning was $155, and in actuality we had $452 left over after bills, with our income minus all of our bills here. And then I wanted to make sure, I know we went over our budget in a couple of these areas, but since all these bills here wasn't taken out yet, it's going to get rolled over to the next one. That's why we have so much left over here versus original budget. But I wanted to hang on to some of that money to carry over to the next budget, to make sure that our bills are taken care of. So this is where all the leftover cash and checking money is. And then our first full check, our disability insurance check for $1,186. When you actually combine it, so this $1,186 was what my husband was getting every week, and when you combine it, times two, he was making, I believe, just $300 less than what he usually would be making. Plus, like any overtime, he usually works overtime, so he'll get a little bit more. So for us, it was a little bit of a change, I guess. It was a little bit less for us, but still, we were just very fortunate that we even have this to help us, get through, while he heals. Because if we had just relied on our emergency fund alone, I think at this time we only had $950 in our emergency fund saved up, and we only really wanted to use it if we absolutely needed to. So at this point here, we have not tapped into it yet. So we were making do with what we had. So our income here, minus all of our bills, left us with this amount here, which in actuality we had more. And our budget, as you guys can tell, our categories are going less and less, or it's getting shorter compared to this right here. So it's only like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 versus like a lot more here. So we just had kind of the basics. So our transportation, food, kids, fun and events, and miscellaneous / cushion. The fun and events for us is any birthdays, things that's going on with the kids, like with school, since my son is starting school. So that's what that is. And what else here? So we were still left with money left over, thankfully, because we were still saving money for our Philippines trip somehow, with all of this. And to the next one, it was hard to keep up with trying to budget every single week because I was so used to just budgeting bi-weekly. But it kind of helped us see what we really spent in the week. Like, it really opened up my eyes to, so like with food, $169 one week, 125, and then 240. Oh no, this is for 2 weeks. It just made me think, like, just looking back, like, damn, we are spending a lot of money on food. And when I go over the expense tracker, I'll kind of show you why. But looking back at it, I'm like, wow, we're a family of 4. I don't know how we're spending $125 every single week, or around that much. That kind of seems like a lot to me, when I know there are some weeks before where we would only spend like $50. So I need to get back on that. I need to just take a look at my end of the month recaps with, all of our spending, and just see where we can cut. And so, okay, anyways, I got kind of off track there. So our last paycheck of August, this is what we had going on. So total income minus all of the bills. I did make sure I was budgeting ahead of time at this point, because I knew that we needed money for September 1st because of rent. So I made sure we had at least $700 saved up to carry over to the next paycheck. I really tried my best to plan ahead and not think, because I could have so easily, if this was me way back then before my debt-free journey, I could have easily saw that $700 and been like, okay, maybe I could spend a little bit more on this or that or whatever, instead of looking ahead and trying to see what we need to pay for. So, which is what got me into debt. So yeah. And the budget categories here was only 4 things: food, transportation, kids, and miscellaneous. So it was kind of hard to budget every single week, because for items like for household, we don't always buy things for our home every single week, because we don't need to stock up on them all the time. So having a miscellaneous budget at this time kind of helped out with that, because we just weren't buying a lot of things every single week. And I think, looking back with the food, I think we were spending the money because it was there. I don't know, because I budgeted for it, which meant I could use all of it, I guess. I don't know, but I ended up spending more on food. So anyways, so that was that. So now onto the expense tracker, and it's a lot of highlighting here. So the highlighting does help me figure out, or help me see, like, which budget category it is. Well, obviously there's a category here, but just having it all color coded kind of helps me see, like, if, for example, I see a lot of orange, I know I spent a lot of money on food. So that's kind of what it helps out for. But here it looks like it's just hella colored with everything. So looking back at these trackers, I am a mostly debit card user, which helped out a lot in tracking our expenses, because I'm really bad at keeping receipts. I'm mostly a debit card user. Just one, it's just easier with the kids. When I'm paying, I can go to self-checkout. At one of our stores, at self-checkout, it's only debit card. And I just want to make sure I'm in and out, especially when I'm with the kids. Also, when I'm getting gas, I don't want to have to go down and pay. And it's just easier for me to not carry. I like to carry less, less things. So in my purse, I'll just probably have my, I think, just a tiny wallet with me. So that's why I just like using debit. I did try out the cash method, and I might try it again later on, because I think going back to debit here just made me want to swipe my card even more, because when I had the cash and I could see how much is left over, it made me want to spend less. So I don't know, unless I could figure out just to not swipe my card all the time. But yeah, anyways, I'm just babbling here. So back to the expense tracker. So what I have here is expense tracker for my checking account. So 1, 2, 3 pages, or 4 pages, and then one for cash. And obviously I'm not really much of a cash spender here because it's just this one half page, or not even half a page, and the rest is like all debit. And I learned I learned this method from the Budget Mom. She does the same thing where she does the same thing with her expense tracker, where she does her checking account separately from her cash. So that's what I decided to do as well. And then also looking back at this tracker, because my mind was just blown with how much money we spent on food, and we were spending a lot on takeout plus buying groceries. So I also think since we had my husband home, I think for me, I was just a little bit more relaxed. I remember having a lot of days where I just didn't want to cook. We just wanted to chill. He was injured, and I think for the first 2 weeks, he could barely walk on his feet, and then he had crutches, and I don't know. I think I could have done better, but it's all gone and over with. I'll look at all of this numbers, and then I'll just make sure I do better for the next budget, which we've been pretty good on. So that's it for the trackers. I don't want to go into too much crazy detail with that, other than I will say this, that I think it is important to track your expenses, or for me anyways, because it helps me see overall in the month how much it is I'm spending. Before I get into this, let me just show you why I really love how this workbook is laid out, because it has worksheets for you to fill out how much money you spent. So you take everything, you take all of the information that you tracked here, and you plug it into these worksheets here, so the first worksheet is where did my money go, monthly budget category breakdown, and then a where did my money go monthly spending comparison, and that's it as far as expenses go, I think. So for this one, where did my money go monthly budget category breakdown. So these are all my budget categories. This was my monthly budget, and this is how much we spent and the difference. So anything highlighted in blue, we went over our budget. Anything highlighted in yellow, we were under. And then overall here at the bottom, I put we were over by $16 when you just calculate everything up. And I did make a note that up here, I was tracking from July 26th to August 31st, which is 37 days. So it's not necessarily 30 days. It was probably just a week more. But I'm trying to stay within the $500 to $600 range for us, depending on whether or not we need to replenish some bigger kind of household items and like food items. Some months might be more, some months might be less. So that's what this all is. And I have learned, just looking at my budget categories here, I was getting tired of, or not tired, but I really was trying to see what I can condense budget category wise, which you guys will see later on in October. I know I'm filming this in the month of October, so I feel like this was just a long time ago for me. But it's kind of nice to still look over these numbers and kind of learn from it. So for this worksheet, I am comparing July spending to August, and anything highlighted in blue, again, I spent more in a certain category in July, and then anything in yellow, I spent less. So from July and August, and in July, I was tracking, it was 28 days. Like I said earlier, I was doing my budget based on my paychecks. So we're getting paid bi-weekly, so that's why it's 28 days. And then here, I did it for 37 days because I included the last part of July's check to August, towards the end of August. And the categories where I'm seeing had a big increase in was food, miscellaneous. We had medical expenses, of course, in August because my husband was seeing a regular doctor, orthopedic doctor. We also went to an emergency, like a, what is this called? Urgent care doctor as well. So that's what that one is. And there is also a where did my money go monthly debt and savings breakdown. And for here, so there's an area for debt. So how much was your monthly income? What was your monthly debt payoff? Percent of income to debt was about 10%. And then debt categories, we have student loans and consumer debt. So 29% of what we pay for towards our debt in the month is my student loans, and then 71% of our debt is consumer, which is all of our credit cards. So that's a lot. My husband and I now each have four. He has 4 credit cards, and I have 4 credit cards that we're paying off. So, and the student loans are mine. And then for savings, saved a total of $1,085. But this right here is just getting saved for our next pay period. So that's what that is. August monthly net worth tracker. And these are our assets here on this side. And then liability is just all of our debt. And so we paid off our car in March. So happy for that. Our Scion, Caliber, these are just the Kelly Blue Book value. This is how much we have total in our accounts right now. And then it gives me, I'm in a negative because of our debt. So our debt, or total liabilities, is way more than our debt. Way more than our assets. So that's what that is. And this page, I think, is kind of nice because every month you kind of see it. And for us, we're seeing it go down little by little because we're paying off our debt, not adding more, thankfully. And then I think one of my favorite worksheets is a debt payment plan, since we are really trying to get rid of our debt. I'm not in a rush, to be completely honest, to pay off our debt. But my main goal for sure is to not go back in debt. So we're kind of in this zone right now. I wouldn't say this is not how I was thinking back in August, but as of right now, we're trying to save half just in our savings account, and then half paying off debt. Just because we want to have a little bit more cash just for us, just in case of anything. I don't know if anything happens or bigger emergency happens, because we did experience that earlier this year, last year, November, December, and January. So I just want to make sure that, we're covered. So that's why we're doing half. So for here, our debt, anything highlighted in green is my husband's debt, and anything highlighted in blue is mine. And our total credit card in August was about $12,000, and total school loans was $18,000. So down here at the very bottom, it kind of tells you your total debt monthly progress, and it's kind of eye-opening to see that only $241 was applied out of the $560 minimum payment that we were making, which meant that $319 all just went to interest. So this is making me just want to increase, making our payment, which when I make my budget overview in October, you guys will see kind of our plan. It's kind of changed up a bit because I've had a little bit. So just from here, from August and September, just looking at our numbers, it kind of gave me more of a wake-up call of, where our money should be going. So having said that, for sure, August and September were the months where I learned the most, and it's made me want to throw whatever we can at debt, even if we have to lower down any of our expenses. That way we can still save and pay off debt at the same time. So yeah, that is it for this August recap. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you in the next video. Have a good one. Bye.